I think there's something I guess, a benefit to being the age we are and starting to have that mindset at such a young age, is that just means we have that many more years to let things just fly where they may.
Yes. So you guys aren't fixing things really.
No,
So
no, not really.
whereas my generation is having to fix things. So I took the path that was laid out for me and didn't decide until after 50 that that wasn't what I wanted. So there's a lot of work to be done.
You're talking about the mindset behind that, right?
Absolutely. So when you live that way, you're living from the outside in, right? You are taking all your cues about your decisions from everything around you. What you do when you choose your own path, and you have probably experienced this, is if you listen to what's inside of you, it comes from the inside out. And there's a huge difference. If you didn't live that way, you don't know what it feels like to think like that. You don't know what it feels like to make decisions without having to know the outcome. So it is totally a different mindset, and it takes time and it takes practice.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Yo, what's up? This is BOHO HOBO, and we welcome you all back to Bindlism, a philosophy to a self-sufficient lifestyle. The purpose of Bindlism is to unlock authentic perspective as we create a community of like-minded individuals who are living a self-sufficient lifestyle. A self-sufficient lifestyle is one in which a human being is activating their self-awareness to curate an authentic life that keeps them sustained mentally, emotionally, and physically in their adventure towards self-fulfillment. BOHO HOBO's mission is to support a community that fosters this culture. We will be interviewing a diverse group of people, including artists, creatives, entrepreneurs, and independent thinkers to make this happen. Please join us in this journey as we explore the world and broaden our horizons with discoveries of new perspective. Thank you to everyone who is taking the time to stop by on your journey to give us a listen. We hope you enjoy, and as always, explore endlessly.
All right. What
3,
episode is
2,
this?
1. Okay. 57. No, Yada's was 57.
58.
So this one's 58.
Okay, we're getting
It's a
close.
good number.
We always forget what number it is. We'll be like, this is episode, I don't know. Wow, I'm embarrassed. All right, so welcome back. This is episode 58 with Michelle Horton.
Yeah.
To kind of give context, Michelle reached out to us on Instagram. Someone that she knows was actually on our podcast.
Yes.
If you remember, Josh Montreal, episode 50 something. Hoping Josh is doing well. Well, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone?
Sure.
We'll get acquainted a little bit, and then we can kind of
Sure.
get into it.
So I met you guys really through Josh Montreal, who is an author, a young adult writer, and I was really impressed with the quality of questions that you asked. And there aren't a lot of podcasts that talk about that are doing interviews about consciousness and people changing their lives, and a lot about social justice. But you guys have really kind of packaged that. And a couple of years ago, I kind of dropped out of my life and reinvented myself. And consciousness was a big part of it, and doing a lot of meditating and doing a lot of work on myself. And I decided that you guys might be two people I might want to talk to. So that's really what brought me here. I love your messages about social injustice and how change comes about, and your commitment to those things. And I thought those are the same things, even though we're very different demographics. We have a lot in common, and I think it's good to kind of build bridges where bridges don't seem apparently to exist. And I thought I would give you guys a shout out and see if I can't get to meet you in person.
And
So I'm
that's
glad to be here.
That's what I've loved about our podcast is Kyle mentioned this before when you reached out. He's like, it's very cool and because you're not the first person who's not our age to be on the show. And Kyle's like, it's very cool that there's really no age limit to what we're doing. It's very just open ended. It can be anyone. And
it's exciting for me to see that young people already know about the things that took me a few or more decades to learn. And I'm so glad that you do, and that people your age are hearing the message that you're sending, because there's so much value in really understanding your own authenticity and designing your life around that instead of the other way. Like most people your parents' age, my age, we had a path chosen for us. You know, we were to go to high school, graduate from high school, go to college, pick a career, get married, have a family, buy a big house. You know, it was all mapped out. There was no question about deviating from that path. Well, you guys are a lot smarter than we were. You decide, you make your own paths. If it's not there, you make it. And that's really, I think, the message for people in my generation, that you can still do that. You can still do it. Even if you chose a path that took you to law school, or you got your CPA and you're sitting, you know, with a pencil all day long, pushing numbers that you don't want to do. You can take a different path and create your own path. It's not easy, but you can do it.
Yeah. And you'll most likely be fine in the end. Like,
well, yeah.
I think people are so afraid of what might happen that they get in the way of themselves actually going there.
I totally agree. I think fear is the thing that gets in most people's way of being successful. However they define successful. It doesn't have to be, you know, a 6-figure salary in a corner office. It could be whatever you decide it to be. And I think for our generation to learn from yours is amazing. My daughter, I have a 29-year-old daughter, and she's so easygoing. I don't know where she got it from, because she did not get that from me. But she's just she'll just be like, "Ma, don't worry about it." I'm like, ugh. I didn't get it then. I get it now. But there's a lot to be learned from your generation. You guys get slammed for a lot, you know.
And your generation, there was a lot of pressure too. So that's maybe where like the fear was created, and like going off and doing your own thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And like we were talking about before we got into this podcast, our generation is lucky to have these opportunities to like delve into individuality.
Yes.
And I think it just shows how far as a humanity we have come to be able to get these opportunities.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's there's something to be said about my generation producing this generation, right? You came out of a tighter, your parents were probably a little bit more tighter than you are with your life at your age. So I think we did something right as parents. So I do think there's a lot of opportunity, but I think my overall message is we can still choose our path. You know,
Definitely.
You think when you get in your 40s and your 50s that everything is in stone already. You can predict your future. If you want your future to be different and unpredictable, it can be. It can be.
Yeah, and I think there's something of a benefit to being the age we are and starting to have that mindset at such a young age, is that just means we have that many more years to let things just fly where they may.
So you guys aren't fixing things really.
No.
So
not really.
Whereas my generation is having to fix things. So I took the path that was laid out for me and didn't decide until after 50 that wasn't what I wanted. So there's a lot of work to be done.
You're talking about the mindset behind that, right?
Absolutely. So when you live that way, you're living from the outside in, right? You are taking all your cues about your decisions from everything around you. What you do when you choose your own path, and you have probably experienced this, is if you listen to what's inside of you, it comes from the inside out. And there's a huge difference. If you didn't live that way, you don't know what it feels like to think like that. You don't know what it feels like to make decisions without having to know the outcome. So it is totally a different mindset, and it takes time and it takes practice. You know, it's not like a dream comes over you and you wake up one day and say, oh, it would be so great if I just quit my job and went and tried something new. You know, most people aren't going to do that if they've been doing something for 20 years.
Right.
But if you get in touch with yourself and realize I didn't want this path. This wasn't, and you know it. Like you really know it your whole life.
And when was that switch that was turned on for you?
It was about 2 years ago. And it really wasn't a switch. I had known it my whole adult life that I was on the wrong path. I knew it. I just didn't have the courage to change the path. It wasn't, first of all, my family would not have accepted it. My friends were all on the same path. So they were all finishing college and doing, getting married, the same path. So there was no stimulus really to change anything. And from the outside looking in, I had it all. So I had a great house. I drove a nice car. We vacation. I mean, if you were to look at my life, you'd say, oh, she's got it made. But I was falling apart on the inside. And really what led up to literally, I say I dropped out of my life. I did. Literally dropped out of my old life. It was an evolution. And I finally got to a point where I said, enough is enough. I can't keep living this way. It's time for me to figure out what my path is and just go for it. I didn't really think I had anything to lose. Looking back, I'm like, oh my God. And people would say to me, we're afraid for you. Really, my friends were saying, we're afraid for you. Are you okay? Do you need help? My family was saying, you need help. There's something wrong. And I knew there wasn't, but I couldn't convince the people around me. And really, that's what's brought me to really design the coaching business that I have, because there's nowhere for people like me to go. Like when I decided that I wanted to make a change, I didn't know what the change was. My family and friends thought I was crazy. They really thought I was having a nervous breakdown. I knew I was going to be okay, but I really needed help. And I knew what I wanted. So I built this business, the Always Chasing Better Coaching, for people who want to create their own path, no matter what stage of life they're in, even if they're 30, 40, or 50, or 60, and they say, I know I'm not on the right path, but I don't know how the hell to go a different way. I don't even know where to start. You don't have to do it the way I did it, but just know that there's somebody out there that can help you. So part of my work is building a community too. So through social media, doing a lot of community building. And I'm astonished at the response. Mostly women who are saying, I really want a better life and I want to help other women. Because women, we don't typically do that. Not women in my generation. We're like, we aren't always as supportive of each other as we could be. And so that's
just to rewind a little bit, what was the first thing that you did when you did go down the path of authenticity? What were some of the things that you started to do?
I asked for a divorce. I had been married for 32 years to the wrong man.
And these were things that you always knew that were
always
kind
knew
of
it.
off.
So
always
it was like
knew it.
The job, the marriage, all of that was just more of an image to other people's liking than maybe yours.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was just what I thought I was supposed to do. You'd find happiness if you do all these things, you have all these things, then then you're happy. Well, so
they say.
So, right. Well, but that turns out that's not true for everybody. It wasn't true for me. So the first thing was I asked for a divorce. I knew I was married to a person that I wasn't in love with. I felt I had never experienced love before. I hadn't. And I was desperate to be in love. Like, what does that feel like? And I wasn't going to have that staying with him. I prayed about it. I wanted to love this person as much as he loved me. You can't make yourself, no matter how hard you try. And we had a good life together. And he was a great father. And he tried to be a good husband. But you can't make that up. So asking for a divorce was the first thing. About 6 weeks later, I walked into my boss's office. I had been a school administrator for 11 years, been a teacher for 20. I had established a good reputation. I just said, I can't do this anymore. I quit. She's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah. and I was making 6 figures, and I said, I can't do it anymore. So,
You're
that,
brave.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, those two back to back is pretty
Within 6,
heavy.
which
Yeah.
explains why my parents or my family was pretty worried, and my
Mhm.
friends were just like, "What are you doing?" Fortunately, when I was your age, I made some smart moves with money. Like I had a life insurance policy. I had put money away. I didn't know then how important that would be. Because after those two things happened, and we sold our home, I literally dropped off the face of the planet for about 6 months. No social media. I had very limited interaction with my friends, but that was when I got to work. I knew what I had to do.
Mhm.
I didn't know exactly, but I knew where to start. I just started meditating. I started reading. I don't know if you know who Mike Bear is. He's a life coach. He's really closely affiliated with Dr. Phil, and he wrote a book about finding your authentic self. I was like, what the hell is that? What do you mean you're authentic?
Mhm.
I had no idea well, I spent the entire summer reading everything I could get my hands on about finding your authentic self and meditating and really understanding how your conscious brain works and your subconscious works,
Mhm.
and understanding my childhood and where that all fit in. And I knew I was going to eventually help women do, particularly women, but not exclusively women, do what I did. And so that was kind of my goal. I had that in my head the whole time. I took a job at SU for a brief time so I could kind of gear up. And,
Mhm.
I stashed another chunk of money away, and then decided November, I got to pull the plug. It was
It's
time to do it
go
again.
time. Yeah.
It was just, it
And
was
that
go
all
time.
was in the span of 2 years from when
Yeah.
you stopped working as a administrator to now.
Yeah. It's
2
actually
years.
been less than 2 years since that
Mhm.
happened. Yep.
So when
Yeah.
you initially quit, you didn't even know like you would be doing coaching. You just knew it had to be something else.
I had no idea. All I knew at that point was that I was going the wrong way. And look, it showed. Like, I was having trouble in certain relationships. I was drinking heavily. It's kind of a joke amongst administrators. Like, we all drink a lot. And so it really, I just was doing things that were not good for me,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew it. Yeah, so there was a lot of that going on too, and I just knew that wasn't the path for me.
And now you said you started meditation. What kind of breakthroughs were you having during that process, if you did have?
I did. I had a lot of them. So I had been meditating before this actually happened, but I started learning about the value of it and really spending time. I had a lot of childhood trauma that led to this, which I hate it when people say that because it sounds so cliche and an excuse, but you really do have to spend time looking at those things in order to heal and move forward. So some of the breakthroughs that I had during meditation were that my thoughts are not me. Like, just because you think something doesn't mean that that's who you are. And
Mm-hmm.
that is so fundamental that people typically believe that whatever's going on in their head is the truth. And it's not.
Yeah.
And that fearful voice, I learned that like another really great thing about meditation is it teaches you that space. It gives you that space between when something actually happens and how you react to it, how you respond to it. Because oftentimes it's our subconscious that immediately
Yep.
kicks in. And meditation buys you the discipline, really, from practice.
Mm-hmm.
Buys you the discipline to go, hold on a minute, let this sit, wait till your subconscious brain is not in control, and then make a decision to do something. So I've actually learned how to really tap into my consciousness so that I'm not making decisions from my subconscious brain. You learn the body and mind connection. Like, there's when my body does certain things, I don't make decisions. You can feel it when someone says something that's triggering. You can feel a physical response,
Yep.
and I know those physical responses that I don't respond to. And those are the things that I think other people really benefit from. I think that's what attracted me to your show, and because you guys understand that. And there aren't a lot of people you can have these conversations with.
That's very true.
Yeah. They look at you like,
It's a lonely
Yeah.
journey,
it is. Oh, that's
at least right now,
it
until
is-
people start waking up.
It is a lonely journey. It is a lonely journey. Fortunately, getting to know yourself is a really beautiful experience. And although it's lonely, you realize that you really are there for yourself. I don't think I felt that way before. I didn't think I was my best cheerleader. Now I am.
That's very important.
I remember the first time I had to look in the mirror and tell myself that, like, I had to say, I love you. I've never done that before. And it sounds so little, but to really make eye contact with yourself in a mirror and say that, for some people is tough. Is really tough. So meditation has been a blessing for me, and really understanding my consciousness versus my subconscious behavior, and also a lot of self-healing. That's like my second wave. Right now I'm really digging a lot deeper into that and really understanding how to move through that and help other people move through that as well.
Wow. So being that you are getting into more or less life coaching.
Yep.
Do you think things in the past that you've done, whether it was teaching or being an administrator, or even before that, have any of those skills in particular have really helped you come to this point where you're like, okay, this is what I want to do, and I know like I can use these skills to help me here?
Absolutely. So when I was a teacher, you can probably tell from my personality that I have, I'm very leadership driven. I'm the oldest of 4 children, pretty type A up until this point. And I did a lot of coaching with other teachers. So teaching is a very collaborative process. And I was also a leader amongst other teachers. Then as an administrator, as part of my role was to help teachers become better teachers. And coaching is interesting because in the education world, the people who coach you are also the people who evaluate you.
Right.
That's a different experience than in life coaching. In life coaching, I'm not evaluating you at all. My role is to help you find whatever it is that you're looking for, whatever your measure of success is. We use the same process actually that we use in school improvement. One of the things that I did in schools was really focused on school improvement. So a lot of times that's what I was hired to do, come in and change certain things in a school. And there's a process for that. There's a system.
Right.
And it's not unlike what people do when they change. So a lot of what I did with teaching and education was around coaching. And actually, I've had a lot of formal training in coaching. And when I was in an Albany area school district, we've totally built a coaching program for teachers from the ground up.
Wow.
So that was a great experience. So I really just took the skills that I already had in education and translated them into something that I care deeply about. I care deeply about education too, but really helping people find happiness and courage to make changes in their life. And sometimes it's a little change and sometimes it's a big change.
Yeah.
Sometimes I look back on it and go, holy shit.
I think it's cool too, especially like my mom was a teacher for my whole life. And I could tell that like there was part of her that wanted to get to this point where she was really affecting these kids' lives and making them, but there's always like, it's like you were saying before the podcast, even at 18 years old, your mind is still developing. So that ability to accept someone older kind of helping guide you through stuff, it doesn't really connect all the time. So shifting into more of a coaching area where you're not evaluating this person and it's more of a nurturing experience, that really opens that door for both parties to kind of get something positive out of that interaction.
It does. I think also you made me think about when you spoke about your mom. I was thinking about when I was in a high school. So I had been an assistant principal at a high school, and I had been a junior senior high school principal in another school district. And I still hear from those kids today. A lot of them I'm Facebook friends with or connect with on social media. And I save them all, the ones that say, I can't tell you thank you enough for how much of a positive influence you've been on me. Just recently, I got one a couple weeks ago from a former student. He's 25 now, 26, and went through a rough time. I knew he was going to, right? He was one of those kids in high school that I probably walked out the door with his parents a couple times. But when he came back, it was like, I'm glad to see you. I'm glad you're here. Now let's get to work. And having that attitude towards kids and no judgment, and having them reach out to me today and say, I really appreciate how you didn't judge, how you are always positive. That kind of reaffirmed for me the decision to go forward with the coaching, because that's the kind of role you're talking about. That's not an evaluative role.
Right.
I mean, and those kids, they expected you to judge them, because you're the adult in authority. But that just wasn't and isn't my style.
Yeah, that goes a long way too. I mean, I can remember back being in, high school or whatever, and having certain teachers react to you in certain ways, and you kind of lean towards the ones that are less judgmental, because it's like, yes, I get like I'm messing up here, but at least you're being a little less harsh to me about it.
Well, it's interesting because this summer with the Black Lives Matter movement and all of that, so a lot of my students, like I said, I'm friends on social media or follow on social media. And it was awesome to see them in a place in their lives where they had really solid opinions based on information. So the last I saw them, they were 15, 16, and 17 years old. And you think you know everything, right? And the adults are like, okay, all right. But now they're like really deep thinkers and have opinions that they can back up and have had experiences. So one of my former students was in Miami for a while, and she had some pretty negative experiences there. And she's from Baldwinsville, right? So she grew up in a white middle-class suburban community that there isn't a lot of diversity. Yeah. And so she was in Miami and having this experience that was racially motivated, and she was traumatized by it. Those things really stick with kids as they grow into adults. But it's great to see them using that in a positive way. And it's great to be part of it. It's great to have discussions with them and disagree with them in a respectful way, or agree with them and say, oh my gosh, you've really grown into your attitude. Yeah. Because you used to be sassy. But now you've got it. You like that sassiness serves you. So yeah, that's a really cool experience.
And what it sounds like is no experience was a waste for you. Even though you had this period of your time where it was dreadful for you to a certain extent, you were still able to draw things and learn from those experiences to get to where you are now. Absolutely. And I think that's a profound thing to point out too.
I think you're right about that. Well, you are right about that. I say now, when you're going through it, you don't always feel that way. Right. Especially when you don't really understand what's happening. You just know, you just follow your gut. Because your gut is your authentic self, right? Your gut knows. Your instinct, your intuition knows what's best for you.
And you tap into that, you're saying through meditation?
Absolutely. And not even just meditation, but just that pause. Okay. Like today, having a little anxiety about coming here, right? Like, wait, just check yourself, check your body, what's happening in your body physically. Where is this coming from? What is this? What in your subconscious is feeling afraid or judged, or right? And then just reminding myself, this is where you're going. This is what you're doing. This is not a big deal. You're okay. You got this.
So it's about to like recognize those emotions that you're having.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
To, like, accept them.
Yes. So recognizing them. And a lot of people have trouble naming them. Like, I feel something, I don't really know what it is. And or they have one that they feel all the time. So anger is an easy one. Like I feel it instantly. So yeah, really taking a minute to identify what's happening and that being okay. There's a reason you're feeling angry and it's a good reason, but you could make it worse. So buy yourself some time, just breathe, sit, think, or let it go. Sometimes when the clients that I have now, I tell them, when you take a pause, the pause could be a minute. It could be 2 days. It could turn out to be forever. You may decide after you've taken a pause that this isn't worth engaging in. So, really take the time. That pause, buying yourself time, I think is the best gift you can give yourself, especially in the beginning, because everything's so emotional and you don't always know what the emotions are or how to interact with them. So go slow and let it be okay. You feel the way you feel and it's okay, but it doesn't have to rule your life. You don't have to make any decisions from it right now. Another thing I tell myself all the time, I tell clients, is ask yourself this question: what if this wasn't a problem? Because a lot of times what's going on in our subconscious and those emotions that you're talking about, Kyle, are not a problem. We're just making them one.
Definitely.
Yes. So when you say to yourself, what if this what I had a client 2 weeks ago, we actually were going for a walk and she's talking about doing a big renovation on her house and she's got all these reasons why it shouldn't happen. And her husband's like, oh, he wants it to happen. She doesn't want it to happen. And I said, well, what if the money isn't a problem? And she goes, well, it's not. And she goes, oh my. And that was it. She's like, this isn't I'm making a problem out of something that isn't a problem.
Yeah.
So,
that's so common too. I feel like even as someone who can identify emotions happening and stuff, I still battle with problems that I've created myself.
Yes.
And then I have to be like, why am I freaking out? Or I need someone to be like, dude, chill.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, you're right.
Well, I think we have a fear of not knowing the outcome of something.
Yeah.
And our subconscious will fill in those blanks for us with the most unimaginable circumstances, right? Like it's awfulizing, I call it. Like there are some people who will just turn any circumstance into the most awful scenario you can imagine. Mm-hmm. And that's what we do to torture ourselves. I think one thing that's interesting too, that I've learned through studying our subconscious mind too, is our subconscious mind's habits were developed between the ages of 0 and 7. So we have people walking around this planet functioning as less than 7. Most people spend 95% of their time in their responding from their subconscious mind.
That explains a lot.
Think about it. So the next time you're in an exchange with someone that's a little uncomfortable, remind yourself this person is really functioning from a 7 or less, And it does make sense.
Yeah.
I think about even myself, like, oh yeah, that was like the 4-year-old Michelle that didn't get what she wanted. And so she's going to be mad. So really understanding that, we spend most of our time on autopilot, which is what I was talking about, right? That was my entire life. When you stop and get off that hamster wheel, which is the pause, and you give your conscious mind time to do what it does, because that's right here in the front of your brain, then your life gets better. Your life gets better.
Well, I think a lot of it is like you're able to take control over your life instead of being driven by these emotions.
Yeah. Yes. So that goes back to what we talked about earlier about creating your own path, which is what I admire so much in your generation, is that you seem to be more in touch with yourselves and what you want. And there are no limits. Like you just get an idea. I think your generation gets an idea and they're like, okay, let's go for it. Let's try it. I want to bring more of that to people who don't naturally think that way.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I think if we were to fail in doing what we want to do, there's less repercussions for the failure, because like let's say you're creating a personal brand, for instance, and you try to do it on Instagram. There's no risk of like losing your job, for instance, like maybe in our past generation that would have tried to do that, whereas it's just, oh, I'm gonna do this in my spare time and see how it goes. And it's more experimental.
Yeah. There's no reason why another generation ahead of you can't do the same thing.
I agree.
It really, we are only limited by our own selves. If you would have told me 5 years ago, 10 years ago that I would have done what I did, I wouldn't have believed it. I would have said you were crazy. The other thing that we might want to talk about is I actually left a heterosexual relationship and now am in a lesbian relationship. So, and there are tons of people just like me.
Yeah.
But you know what? That you won't see them. You won't hear about them. Everybody's kind of on the down low about it.
Right.
And that's been another,
So that's 3 like very life-changing scenarios happening.
Huge.
And when you did this, what feelings were you like having during that time? Because I'm sure that that's a lot of pressure and stress happening all at the same time.
So there were 2 primary things going on. I just knew I was doing the right thing. I can't explain it to you how I knew. I just knew this was my shot to just create my own life, the life that I could see for myself. I've always wanted to live in the city. Well, now I live in the city. I've always wanted to be self-employed. Always. I helped my ex-husband form a business 25 years ago, and he's making money hand over fist, doing great. That business is still doing really well. So I had that feeling like I know this is the right thing for me to do. But I also had so many forces around me telling me, what is wrong with you? Yeah. And that's what happens when you disrupt a system, right? And that's what I did. When I changed my whole role and pulled out of my life, it affected everybody that had a cog in the gear, right? Everybody whose gear was touching my gear was thrown off because I stopped.
Interesting.
And the rest of them were like, what? And it forces them to look at their lives and themselves. And if you can't make someone do that, so what they do instead is they resist, right? They push back.
Yeah.
So I had this really strong urge and desire to go forward, but I had this conflicting force of people around me who really do love me, but were scared to death for what I was doing. But yeah, and the whole sexuality thing has been that's a whole other. It's not though. It's part of it. And I think, I've had a lot of discussions with a lot of people about this, but some people want to call me a lesbian, like you're living with a woman, you're in a relationship with a woman, you're a lesbian. Well, okay, that's your label to make you feel better,
right?
Like that helps you understand me in some way, not you personally, but the people that need me to identify. Like I don't say one way or the other what I am. I'm in love with this person, this human being. And I never saw it coming. She was a friend. We were going through similar things at the same time. We were talking about these things, right? And I was like, oh my God, there's someone else on the planet who thinks like I do. So, and that relationship really evolved out of both of us seeking other things, leaving one life and then later developed into a romantic relationship. I didn't see it coming at all. So I don't identify as a lesbian. Like I said, that's for people around me to use that term. It helps them explain me to other people, and helps them understand my situation. But I fell in love with a person who's amazing. Like I feel it for the first time. And I think that's what people don't know is like, that's what I wanted. I wanted to feel love, and I can't help it. It's a girl. And she's
Yeah.
awesome. And she's just an amazing person. And it's a great thing.
That's so it's I just think it's amazing how you have this realization, right? And then you say, screw it, I'm doing this. I'm making all these decisions. Who knows what's going to happen? And then both the things that you wanted ended up happening anyways.
Yeah.
That the power of manifestation is insane.
Absolutely. I'll tell you, I write, and to go along with that, I write everything down, because if you write it down, you exponentially increase it in happening.
You give it some power.
Absolutely. And then the power of going back in your writing and finding it and saying, holy cow, I asked for this and it's happening is incredible. That's all part of the manifestation, is all part of finding your own path. If you really want it, you can have it. I mean, that's an amazing thing to me, that my life is in control of me. A lot of us don't feel that way. We think we're just here and we're given a set of circumstances and that's where we go. It's not like that.
Yeah. Limiting beliefs. That is the thing that more than 80% of the population don't realize is controlling themselves.
Absolutely. And where do those limiting beliefs come from?
Yeah.
Culture, media, your parents, all the things trying to put you in a box.
Yep.
And
labels, exactly. To piggyback off what you're saying. So we live in a world of box, being in compartmentalized everything.
That was always really frustrating for me as an educator too, is that that system has trouble looking at children as individuals and instead wants to put them in boxes, conformity boxes mostly.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter how smart or how much difficulty you have learning, but we're going to just put you in these boxes. So maybe you're a special education student, so we fit you in this box, and these are the things that happen to you as a result of being in that box. So not only do we put kids in boxes, but that defines their outcomes often.
Yeah.
And it's backwards. And that's one of the reasons why I had to leave education. I retired early. That's one of the paths I couldn't stay on. I couldn't be authentically myself. If I believe that people have the freedom to choose their path, and I can't be part of a system that is doing just the opposite at a factory level.
Yeah.
We are pumping out children who see themselves in a certain way because of what we are doing, what we are teaching them. It sounds like I have a bad feeling about schools, but systematically, this is what we do. I don't think it's the intention of anyone to do that, but really that's what we do.
It's just a byproduct of what they were trying to do with the system.
Yep.
And that was mainly to get people into the workforce.
Yes.
Originally when it was created.
And it doesn't, it's not a system that changes very easily.
Right.
So what you see happening now in schools is very similar to what you would have seen 20 years ago, 40 years ago, even 60 years ago. That factory model is still quite prevalent in most school systems.
So I like to think that knowledge is power. And it sounds like the motivating force behind you taking the leap of faith in pursuing this individual path was the fact that you knew what you wanted. So do you have any ideas as far as practical tips that could help people to first get to that point of like knowing what is it that I want?
Yes. So I think first and foremost, people have to become aware of what's happening in their mind, because it is the single most powerful organ in your body. It is really determining. Everything else will work on its own, right? The way it's designed, it just works. But you can control more of what goes on in your mind than you believe. I think people, if you don't know anything about consciousness or meditation or manifestation, start Googling that shit. Start reading about it.
And you said writing stuff down was very important.
Writing, journaling. So I'm not a big journaler. I don't like to just sit and write. I do better when I'm inspired by something. So a lot of times I'll just go on social media or Pinterest or something, and I'll see something and I'll be like, oh, that's speaking to me today. And I start with that and I just start writing. I feel like things pick me instead of me picking them. So that's a lot of what I'll do often about writing is I'll be inspired by something and it'll cause me to write. I also would recommend for people, find some kind of personal growth learning. So right now I'm in a group called Self-Healers Circle. It's by Dr. Nicole Perla out of, I think she's in Colorado or California. I'm not sure, out west somewhere. And it's really learning. It's set up like a college course, and you really learn. Like right now, I'm learning about consciousness. I know a lot about it, but there's always more to learn. So I think if you don't understand, you can't. The root of change is in your consciousness. Is understanding how your conscious mind and your subconscious mind work together, or work against each other, which is often the case. But so I would say those things. I think journaling works for some people. Learning about meditation and how that can help you with creating some space in your life for really looking at what's happening in your mind. Doing some learning, like some real learning about neuroplasticity and what's happening in your brain that's causing some of the things to happen over and over in your life. I think that's huge. Women tell me all the time, I keep having the same thing happen over and over and over again. That is the best thing someone tells me, because I know that if we can start there in a coaching relationship, that can be fixed. That's just overriding the subconscious. That's the subconscious that's got a grip on you.
Yep. When
certain things happen in your life, this is how you're responding. And we can work with that. That is not that hard to fix, actually. You can do that. So those are the things I would start with. Of course, I'm always going to say coaching. It is always great to experience something with someone else. That was one of the great things about having a partner that was doing a lot of self-exploration too, is that we would read something and then talk the shit out of it, right? Like, what does this really mean for you? This is what it means for me. Having someone to partner with when you are exploring some of these ideas that are so far out of your awareness, and sometimes rereading things the first time you read them, you're like, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
But you come back to it and you're like, oh.
And you have those aha moments.
Yeah, they're great too.
Yeah, great
it is
feeling.
a great feeling.
So Kyle and I, let's say 2 summers ago, we took a life coaching course. And this is kind of what opened our, when we started the brand and podcasting and stuff, we weren't necessarily on the full blown on this train. We were kind of getting there, I think, authentically without realizing it. But then, we kind of delved down that train. But yeah, like we went through the course, we took it on Udemy. So we watched all the guys' videos, and it would be like, I have to rewatch 5 videos because there was some really good stuff that didn't really fully set in, but I know that it is really important to this next lesson that I need to build to get to that final, I guess, frame of mind.
Really good
at the
understanding.
End. Yeah, because at the end you're like, wow, I have a lot of power now that I didn't realize I had.
Well, and that's the thing about coaching. It's this blend of kind of the metaphysical, right? The whole idea of consciousness and meditating and really understanding what your brain is doing and what, whatever your spirituality is, which is also really closely connected to that. And then there's the whole science of change, right? And that's a whole different, there's a process for that. And you have to find for each person the sweet spot. Like, where do those two things intersect for that person?
It's so personalized.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. And you can't have a prescribed coaching program. You really have to have something that's got some fluid in it so you can adjust per person. That has the solid science in it of change. Like this, we know this will work to change behavior. But it also has, how much of the consciousness and the meditating and manifesting, like how much of that are they ready for? Can they handle? That's a lot. That's a lot to deal with. And that's why the coaching I do is in 3 or 6 or 12 month segments. I don't coach for, even the 3 months is tough because change takes time. But you definitely have to do it over the course of, several months is ideal.
So just out of curiosity, where do you find most of the people that you coach with?
So word of mouth is huge. My story has some power in it for
Definitely
women.
Synchronicity.
Yeah, they definitely. So most people react the way you do. Like, what? And then the second thing they say is, well, if you can do it, then I can probably do it too. Or I don't want to do that much, but I'll do this much.
Right. It makes what they were thinking about doing seem way less crazy.
Yes.
You're like, oh,
Yes.
all right.
So generally it's people that have heard my story or know my story or they know someone that knows my story. I just recently started a bigger presence on social media. So that that's drawing in people that are all over the country, which has been one of my goals. Is I want to get to a level where I can, go to Key West for the week and take my laptop and I can coach there. And really COVID was a blessing because it really changed our mindsets around what the world could look like.
Definitely. Yeah.
And I was one of those people like you guys that took advantage of it. I was like, yes, this is golden. I started working at home too in March. And I had more time, everybody did. And I just said, okay, it's, pardon my pun, balls to the wall. Like, I'm going to build this business. And
the coaching is your full-time job then right now?
Yep.
Okay.
I left my full-time job at SU. I had a great job up there, but and I knew that's what it was for. Like, I knew
it was just a placeholder.
It was perfect way to say it. It was definitely a placeholder. I knew I wasn't ready. And I wasn't ready mainly because of my own healing process. Like, I was still licking some wounds, right? And I didn't feel ready to be at 100% with another person who was going to deal with some of the same stuff or greater. So I took my time. I knew I would know when the time was right. And November came and I'm like, this is it. Do it. And I did it. And it's actually caught on really fast. I probably talk to potential new clients 3-4 times a week. I've got some goals written down that I want to happen in 2021, and they'll happen because they do, or some version of them. I'll be on the track. So I'm really excited about it. Helping people realize that they can have what they want. It hurts. It hurt, but everything worth having does at some point, right?
Yeah.
Overcoming or handling change is definitely a discomforting situation, but when you're uncomfortable that you're making progress. Yeah. Which is counterintuitive, right? We mostly think
it's like working out.
Yes. Right? No, what does I say? No pain, no gain.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that was one of the biggest things that I took out of the life coaching course that we took. It was something that I tended to, I think similar to most people, is that things would make me uncomfortable and I wanted something out of it, but the uncomfortability kind of pushed me away from even going for it. Yeah. And it was realizing that I need to be uncomfortable to grow and succeed. And if I'm not uncomfortable, then maybe I'm just plateauing all the time, and I need to not plateau. So if there's an extended period of time where things aren't really feeling uncomfortable and it's just kind of like, wow, well, I'm just kind of chilling, maybe I need to like push a button or open a door or something,
Yeah.
So that's very important.
Well, discomfort is your subconscious saying, no, don't do it. Protect me. Stay where we are.
Right.
Keep things the same. Even if they're shitty, just keep it the same. Your
We're
subconscious.
used to this.
Yes, this is part of the routine. You'll, your subconscious will make life miserable for you until it realizes, okay, I'm going to give up on that. And we'll move on to the next thing.
Well, it's funny how like initially you get that pushback from your subconscious and it seems like it has so much power behind it. But the second you do it and push it, you push forward head first into that, you know, a day goes by and you're like, why was I freaking out so much? It was nothing.
That's kind of the response I give people when I tell my story, because it was hard, but it was easy in some ways. You know, once I learned some of the basic things, I was like, okay, I just have to meditate about this and write it down and check my progress every now and then, and, you know, stick to what my action plan was, and it's going to happen. Yeah. We humans have an amazing power that we don't use most of. And I think that was exciting to me to learn that you can do whatever you want.
And you're a perfect example of showing that it doesn't matter where you are in life, that it can happen.
It's almost sweeter now. And people, my friends especially, will say to me, you're so much happier. Just the way you move through the world is so much happier. And it's because of that, because I don't have all the answers. I don't know what's going to happen with this business. I don't know if it's going to be a success or if it's going to be a flop. But the process in doing it has been so free. I feel so free. I get to do
so important
what I want to do. I used to think that my decisions were about other people and how they would affect other people. No, not anymore. I decide, and it sounds selfish. Women my age don't can you imagine your mother saying that? I'm going to put me first. Your father and your siblings.
I wish she would put herself first more often.
Yeah. I think most kids want that for their parents. You know, they want to see their parents happy and fulfilled. I mean, imagine the conversation with me at Copper Top, big mistake, with my daughter, telling her about my relationship with a woman. Now, I thought this was going to be a disaster, which is one of the reasons why I did it at Copper Top. I would not recommend doing it there. But only because I wouldn't do it in a public place again. I learned a lesson. But she was more upset about her family falling apart. She loves my partner. Her being a woman never hit my daughter's radar. You know, you're again, back to your generation, you're just so much more. Maybe it's because you haven't been in the world long enough to be tainted, or, you don't discriminate as much than other generations do. But it was, it's been an interesting ride I've had.
I think when it comes to that, I think it's just that growing up, it was way less acceptable to discriminate for any reason, whether it's race, sex, whatever it may be. So I think that's another clap to your generation for trying to get rid of that shit, because it's bad, obviously.
Yeah, that definitely was the raising children in the 60s and 70s had to be interesting. Because, the women's movement and civil rights.
Woodstock.
So that would be your, yeah, right.
so much happening.
So your grandparents really were parenting then. And that was a tough time. That was a tough time to find yourself as a young parent, I bet.
Yeah, especially like my grandparents were all first generation Americans, like my dad is a first generation American, so like his parents were born in Poland and Italy, so they were living in places that I'm sure free thinking like this probably wasn't as far along.
Yeah.
So
well, and let's go back to what we know, that most people are operating out of a 0 to 7-year-old mind. And so when you think about that in context of the civil rights movement, that the Black Lives Matter movement that we're in now, it makes complete sense. So you're basing your adult decisions on things you were conditioned for in your childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And if you hear people's arguments, that's what they sound like. Well, all lives matter. I mean, that's something a 7-year-old would say. So it's really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
So
it definitely is.
I think one of the biggest barriers, at least for me, and what I would envision for myself in like starting a business is the money side of things.
Yeah.
Like finances hold us back in doing what we want to be doing. Would you be able to take us through kind of like the business side of stuff?
Sure.
Of,
So
like the model you have going?
So it's an interesting model. So one of the things about really becoming aware of the power that you have, it is letting go of some of your fears. So I have a real fear of running out of money. That is a real fear for me that I work with every day. And I balance that with the belief that I'm surrounded by money and that I'll have what I need when I need it, and that there's an abundance, there's enough money for everybody, and that my role in this world is not about money. I want to make money, but I also have other things. I have an impact to make, which is important. I just have faith, just like I had blind faith that I was going to be okay a few years ago. I just know that I'm going to be okay with money. So I'm also in my 50s. So when I was 20, I did some smart things with money. So it's given me some freedom to, when I checked out for 6 months, I had money that I could do that. Not everybody can do that. Right. When I decided to walk away from my job and start this business, I wasn't sure it was a smart thing to do, to be perfectly honest with you. But when I tell you that I'm surrounded by money, I've literally had things happen where there was money that I didn't know. And now I have money that I didn't know I had. It's not a lot of money, but it's enough money. As far as a business model goes too, is I set goals for the business. And the money goes toward those goals and nothing more. So, for example, I have a home office. It's really nice, but I've got this big, empty, ugly wall, and I really want to have a mural painted on it. I know the artist I want to use from the city. I know exactly what I want on that wall. It's going to cost me about $1,200. That doesn't feed my goals. That does not get me where I want to be. That is not a wise use of my money. So that's really the process I use for my business. Is this moving me forward toward one of my goals? If the answer is yes, I spend it. If I had something I had to buy recently. Oh, it was this social networking thing, gathering, where it's also a learning experience too. It's with some people in Syracuse, a network in Syracuse, and it's $200. And I thought, oh, that, I may my first reaction is, oh my gosh, I'm going to need that for the National Grid bill someday. But then I'm like, wait a minute, no, that's my fear, right? That's my subconscious fear going, no, don't spend that money. But what I did instead was that pause, take a breath. No, does that get me toward my goals? Yeah, a couple of them actually. Some networking, some professional development of my own. Yes. So that $200 was worth spending. Am I going to need $200 for the National Grid bill at some point? Yeah. I might have it. I might not. But I cross that bridge when I get to it. So I asked myself the question, what if this isn't a problem? Well, today, it's not.
Yeah, there you go.
So I do make some plans, financial plans. I keep meticulous books. I have an accounting book that's January through December every year. I just copied it over for the New Year's. Fortunately, I learned a lot talk about my past as an administrator, both at the district level and the building level. I learned a lot about budgets and a lot about keeping track of money. I've always had to manage anywhere from $10,000 to I had a $3 million budget when I was in Albany working in a school district there. So I have that skill set. I know how to budget for a business. I know how to build a business. But I'm still a human being that has fears, irrational fears, some of them rational. And that's really what gets in your way in your business. You have to really be clear on what it is that you want.
I think that's the biggest point.
Yes. Yep. And stay crystal clear. There's lots of things that are going to pull you off, especially when you have to interact with social media, right? There's lots of things that cause you to respond and react. That's what it's designed to do. But you have to stay focused on what your mission is, what your impact is supposed to be, what you want it to be, and you fund that. All the other stuff, you have to be disciplined enough to say, not right now. That's got to wait.
I think that's an important thing to point out, is that there is a lot of distraction in our world now.
Yes.
Just the amount, like, there's a proportional amount of opportunity as there is distraction. So there's like people that might have not waken up to what they want to be doing with their life, but they're getting pulled by the distractions, and also they don't maybe realize the opportunity.
Yes.
And so now it's like, again, sitting with your thoughts, like sitting with your emotions, like figuring out what you want to be doing with your life.
Yep.
And it's just like, it's kind of vicious. We're in a vicious world right now, but like, it's also so fulfilling at the same time too.
Yeah. Well, I think you have to really have clarity, but that doesn't mean you have to know. So you have to be clear on your impact and what it is that you're trying to accomplish, but you don't necessarily, you almost have to let go of the outcome, because the outcome could be greater than you ever imagined.
Right.
If you sometimes we limit ourselves by the outcome. Like if one of my outcomes was I wanted my business to produce, $60,000 this year, or $60,000 in the first quarter. No, I don't want to say that. I don't want to limit myself in that way.
And also you're setting an expectation, which then if, God forbid, that doesn't hit, now you're just, down on yourself.
Right.
Which
that's a loss.
Yeah. You don't want that either.
That's a failure. Yeah. And I think every obstacle, going back to what you were just saying, Kyle, every obstacle is an opportunity. What differentiates the successful from the not successful is that when we hit a wall, we either find a way around it, over it, through it. We don't let that stop us. So it may not be that we end up where we hoped we'd end up, but we might end up over here, which might turn out to be better. I think there are so many obstacles and distractions, like you said, that it's easy to get pulled off your mission, especially when you see that other people are successful. Like you can go on social media and find people doing what you're doing and what I'm doing that claim to be making six figures, and they're turning clients away, and they've got these major production houses now where they're making great videos, and they've moved into all that kind of stuff. You can find those people everywhere. That doesn't have anything to do with you. That doesn't have anything to do with me. I'm on my mission.
But it does show how much abundance there is in the society that we're creating.
It's endless. It's endless. And that's an important mindset to have, that it's there for you, but you have to go get it. It doesn't knock at your door.
You can't wallow at someone else having that success and be, why isn't this happening to me? Well, what are you doing? You're spending more time looking at them than doing something.
Right. It's actually just the opposite. So when we talk about manifesting in the ways of in the universe, when you give more, when you support more, that's what you get back. So
karma.
Exactly. So one of the big things that's important to me is supporting other women entrepreneurs. So just a woman I dealt with recently, and we were talking about some marketing and advertising. She said, I hate to do this, but I have this $250 package. I said, why are you apologizing? One of the things I want to do is support you as much as you support me. So I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to do what it is that you're asking me to do. My earrings, which have both fallen off by now, I'm wearing them. So they're from a woman that started her own business on Etsy and is selling, really gorgeous earrings that I really like. I want to support women, because not only because it's the right thing to do, and because I want that too, but it's just good karma. It's good energy to put out into the world.
It's exponential too. Like if you create that network, it has that effect where a friend of a friend of their friend, and it's like the growth of it becomes a lot larger than what you could have done just by yourself.
Yes, but it's slow, right? So I think there's this expectation that things will happen fast too. Like, I go on social media and I do all this, and I should have that. This person says I should have 100 clients by now. Well, it doesn't work that way, because the consumers consume relationships, and they want to know who they're spending their money on is someone that they can trust, that they can interact with, that
Especially
they can
with
stand
life
behind.
coaching.
Absolutely. Even you guys, though, your customers really want to be part of your brand. They don't just want to be a customer. They want to feel what it is, that the feelings that you're giving when you produce videos, right? They want to feel that. So yeah, I think supporting other women, I also do, a big part of my life is serving other people. That's just for me. I don't think that everybody has to do that. One of the organizations I'm really involved with in Syracuse is ACR Health. I don't know if you know much about them.
Yeah,
Amazing.
Helio works with them.
Yes. Amazing organization. Really supports this community, in the needy, the people that need help in this community, in an amazing way. They are amazing people. And I spend as much time with them as I possibly can, doing the most humbling things, which is really good for your spirit, to be needed in a humbling way, to put yourself in the shoes of another person who's struggling is, I've met some of the most amazing people from volunteering at ACR Health.
Yeah, I think it's just not even to do that stuff out of like a selfish reason. It doesn't sound like you are, but to do that, to have it follow you around, because people are going to take note that X person was here doing this, and I also saw that person doing this over there, like, know, and word travels.
Not only that, I think, so selfishly, I will tell you, there's one before COVID. I used to go to what's called a no-hitch luncheon. And it started back in the 80s when AIDS was prevalent. And, men were dying from AIDS in this city like others. And the ACR started their organization then. And one of the things they started was this no-hitch luncheon. No hitch meaning you didn't have to do anything. You could just show up. And it was mostly men who were suffering from AIDS in the city. And there was different like homes where people who had been abandoned by their families, the patients would go and stay there and spend their last days. So ACR started this lunch, and it's been going on for years, maybe 20, 30 years now. So I started serving at that. It was funny because when I was working up on the hill, I would just go down during my lunchtime. And the first time I walked in, and there's a bunch of guys getting lunch ready. And of course, I'm this peppy little blonde girl comes in, and these are a bunch of guys that, a bunch of them have been on the streets before, they're rough. And they're like, oh, who's this chick coming in? You could just see it. Eventually I grew on them, but my point is, every time I left that lunch, it is the most amazing. You meet some of the most amazing people, and everybody has a story to tell. And it's an amazing story. There was a group of 5 women who would come in every luncheon dressed to the nines, like they were going to church. And they just had the most fun. Now, these are women who probably don't have a lot of money, and actually would bring grocery bags to get Goodwill clothes that we kept in the back, because we would let people take clothes. Well, they weren't taking them for themselves. They were taking them to give to other people on their way home. So these women, I could stand and watch them and listen to them, pull up a chair and sit with them. Just amazing. So when you're in the service of others, you meet some amazing people who have amazing stories. And I say to myself, what am I whining about? What am I whining about? Here's a man who's had AIDS for 20 years. Get off your pity pot, girl.
Perspective.
That's right. That's right. There are people who would love to have my problems, right? They'd love to have your problems.
Yeah.
We're lucky and we've worked hard. So it's gratitude that's another thing, Kyle. You just one of the things you've asked me is pivotal things, like things that have really had a difference. Gratitude, huge. That's been a lot of my writing. But if you can tap into gratitude for anything, talk about overcoming obstacles or
like
turning
a daily
them into
mantra of sort.
Absolutely. If I can find the good in something, no matter how horrible, that's a win for me. And sometimes it's hard. You know, when you're going through a divorce and you look at that other person, you're like, what the hell did I see in him? But you got to find that, right? Like for your own goodness, you have to find it. And it's there. It's there.
So, would you be able to, by any chance, take us through like the framework you have for your life coaching service?
Yeah.
And what that consists of?
Yep. So I start with a 30-minute free consultation, just like most coaches probably do. And that really gives me a feel for a client, whether or not I think we're going to gel. And then the second step is, well, it depends. So if it's a 3-month cycle, what we do first is we spend the first 1 or 2 sessions, which are 60-minute sessions, really diving into who they are. There's an online assessment that I have them take. It's not designed by me. It's an actual standardized assessment. It really gives both the client and I an idea of some of their behaviors, some of the things that are working well for them, some of the behaviors that are not working well for them. It gives me an idea of how to approach, because if it's someone who's outspoken and like me and can talk easily, as opposed to someone who's an introvert, I'm going to want to interact with that person differently.
Right.
So we do a lot of work building who that person is, building an understanding and a shared understanding of who the client is. And sometimes they don't know. Sometimes that process ends up taking 2 or 3 or 4 sessions because
As it should.
Yeah, because they're exploring who they are too.
Yeah.
So some of that exploration is who you are right now. Some of that is how much of this is authentic and how much of this is the path that you've taken, as opposed to
what you
creating your own path.
Yeah.
You know, who is it that you want to be? So really spending the time to have a shared understanding of who that whole client is. Then we set goals, and really, what are the things that you want to make changes? And not a lot of goals. We start with 2, maybe 3 at tops, depending on the client and how motivated they are. And then the next session, which would be about 4 or 5, is action planning. So once you have your goals, you got to have a plan in place. And the action plan is all the steps we're going to take in order to get to those goals. And there's benchmarks. So about every 4 sessions, we'll stop and do a review. How are you doing? What is some evidence? Let's talk about the evidence of growth. What have you accomplished so far? How are we doing in relationship to the goal that you've set? Are we close, or are we still far away? What adjustments do we have to make? So my cycles go in 12-week segments. So at the end of the 12-week segment, we do an overall review. Where are we? What did you accomplish? What are your next steps? Are you going to go off on your own? You're going to stay with me for a few more months and we're going to work on this. What are we going to do? I don't want a lifetime relationship with my clients. It's different from therapy, right? Like, I don't want you dependent on my goal.
This is for them.
Right. My goal is for you to create the life you want or get you on your way and send you like a parent, right? I did my job. I'm sending you off into the wild, wild world. And I'm here if you need me. But it's really to create some independence, not a dependence like, you would a therapist. So if you stay on with me for 6 months, we repeat that cycle. We do, except we don't have to get to know you because we know each other pretty well by then. So we dive right into either another goal, or we dive deeper, or we make a big adjustment, and so we start that cycle all over again. So the cycle of continuous change is to assess your current situation. This is exactly what I did in school districts. Assess your current situation, set your goal, create a plan, put it in action, and review it, and monitor and adjust as you go. It's really that simple. It's not that simple. Part of the structure of my coaching too is you have a 60-minute coaching session once a week, but you get about 5 to 6 emails a week from me, or a day, 5 to 7 times a week. So that email,
wow,
because think about it, you go to a coaching session once a week, you've got another week before anything happens. What's different from coaching, different from therapy and coaching, is that I'm going to make contact with you every day because this is your plan. And that email is going to contain some steps for you to do that day. So there's going to be a meditation or a reference for a meditation. There's going to be a journal prompt, however you want to journal. There will be affirmations in there that are, and the email is completely customized to the client. And what is the last thing? It totally escaped my mind. So there's 4 things in the email every day for that client is a check-in. Like these are the things that are on your coaching plan that you need to be doing every day. It's one of the things about being a coach too is you're an accountability partner. Like I'm head bitch. You're paying me to kick your ass.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to be like your best friend and sugarcoat everything for you. I'm not going to be your mother-in-law, your sister, your neighbor, your friend. You have all those things. You need someone who's going to set goals with you and hold you accountable, because that's where we fall apart.
Yep.
Right? Between sessions, that's where we fall apart. So that email is really a way to say, okay, here's what you wanted. This is what you want to do each day. Here it is for you. Check in with me. Let me know how things are going. Yep. And I also give my number to clients so that they can text me. I don't always get back like in the next, don't text me, expect me to be back in touch in 5 minutes because, I have other clients in a life too, but I do let clients contact me. And also clients that stay on 6 or 12 months with me, they also have what I call a la carte sessions. So let's say you're coaching and you have a job interview coming up. Well, a job interview really isn't on your coaching plan, but you'd really like to meet with me about it. That you get 3 of those if you do 6 months of coaching, just random whenever you want them, and you get 6 of them for 12 months of coach. So you get an extra 6 sessions. So it is a relationship process. It's an accountability process. But it works. It works.
So how many clients have you had since you began?
So I have 4 right now. And I've got a bunch in the hopper. So, nice. But I think I messaged you today about what your listeners, if your listeners are interested in coaching.
Might as well talk about it.
Yeah. So I created, so for your listeners, they can reach out to me. There's a special link I've sent you that they can go to, and I will do a week it's like a mini coaching session. You really can't accomplish a whole lot in a week. But I think one of the obstacles is that clients don't really know what coaching is. Like what I thought, like Oprah has a coach and these big CEOs of companies have a coach, but I don't think that's for me, or I don't really know what that looks like. So for your listeners, a week mini session, it's a 60-minute coaching session. We'll try and set at least one goal for the week, and they'll get the emails for a week. And it's like a $250 value. So if they want to continue on, they can. If they don't want to. So I
think that's cool. And it's like for anyone who is maybe like interested in it, but like you're saying, doesn't really know if it's for them. It's like a little sample of what of what it could be.
Yeah. And it's a lot about coaching is a relationship. If we hit it off and you think I can help you, then that's a good thing. I'm not for everybody, right? Somebody may be more comfortable with you guys coaching. So it's really finding the right fit. It's really finding the right fit. So
I mean, and we'll put the link in the description of the episode when it's posted, and we'll probably do a general post about it. At least hint at listen to this episode, because there's a little. Yeah. Don't want to give it away.
A hidden gem.
Yeah. Awesome.
So now like your specific target population of like the people that you're coaching is females.
Yes.
Now the program itself, is that geared around getting to the point where you have like the self-awareness to start your own business, or is this open to like literally anything you want to do?
Anything. I really
and it's for males, females, trans, everyone, right?
Most of my clients are like me. They are, women from their 40s to, I would say, 60s. But I I can coach anyone, and I would love to. I think the other thing too is, so I was thinking about this earlier, women in their 30s, even 20s and 30s, they're, as being a principal, there's a lot of not just girls, women, but men as well, any gender, that have made mistakes in their past and somehow got derailed from what the life that they had seen for themselves. I see this in my former students all the time. Those are people, particularly, I think I can be helpful to. So,
and like you said, it's about the relationship. So
it
if you
really
can relate
is.
to them and certain
the process is
experiences,
valuable. It doesn't matter who you are, right? The process of discovering who you are and setting a path for yourself and embarking on that path and being successful, that works for everyone. I've been fortunate that the clients who have radiated to me are mostly in a certain category, but my skill set is definitely broadened. I think my experience with students and really seeing them as young adults now, I bring a lot of value to that too. And like you said, it's all about relationship and a lack of judgment. And I find that, I almost said kids your age, but people your age are more open to maybe it goes back to what you said, Kyle, about risk. They don't have as much to risk, but when it's your life, you feel like it's everything.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel any different when you're 30 than it does when you're 50. It still feels crappy when you're not where you're supposed to be, right?
Yeah. And I think over time too, I'm sure you'll end up having a change of demographic with what clients come in the door and go out.
Yeah.
And that'll be cool to kind of, circle back on that, say 2 years from now and check in.
Have me back.
Like what's the experience been at that point?
Yeah.
I think you'll learn a lot too. For
yeah,
sure.
Absolutely. That's the best part about it.
Yeah. It's a win-win.
There's
for
as
both
much
parties.
in it for me as absolutely.
So now this is, you said, a little less than 2 years into this journey. What kind of goals do you have for yourself and the company or the organization that you have going for the next 3-5 years, and like what are you trying to accomplish with it?
So I really want to get this business to the point where it gives me some financial freedom, right? So I'm able to do the things that I want to do easily, without having to be aware of what's in my retirement, what's in this pension, what's over here. So to have some financial freedom in that business, I'd really.
Would that be like building out the organization? So you're more so like managing the organization, or is it like getting a steady stream of clients?
Yeah, I don't think it is. So my interest is not in getting to this mega coaching world.
Like Tony Robbins?
Yeah, no, I don't want to be Tony Robbins for a lot of reasons. He's a great model, but not mine.
Yeah.
But I enjoy the work. I enjoy the interaction with people. I enjoy being part of someone's success. Getting bigger doesn't help me
in the trenches
do that.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I want to do the work. I love helping people. So I want to do the work. If I were to get bigger, if I were to build the brand, it would be more probably in the way of writing, doing some writing. That's one of my goals. I've had on my list for a while, my goal list, writing a book. I don't have the foggiest idea what it's going to be. I just know that the universe will send it, like when I'm ready, the idea will come and it will just happen. So I'm not rushing that, but it's been there for a while. So I'm doing some smaller writing now, and hopefully something will spark my interest.
I have some ideas too, as far as like streams of revenue you could maybe incorporate, but we'll talk after this.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. I love it. So that's really, I don't have these mega goals for the business. And I think when you're starting out, there's so much, like there's so many things to do, and so like, especially with social media, like it is like, oh my, it is an animal all to
Endless
itself.
pit of ideas.
It really is, and it's you get this crazy FOMO feeling all the time.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, that really is a good place to practice mindfulness, because you could drive yourself nuts.
Yeah,
Like you said, turn a negative into a positive
It's
opportunity.
It's just a
Yes.
mental exercise.
Yeah.
Just go on Instagram.
And you can learn it, right? So now I know that I can watch people. Like, I can watch what other businesses are doing, and I can go and listen to a podcast, or I can go to YouTube and watch videos about it, or I can do an online course, or I can watch or have another coach teach it. I mean, the learning is endless. So yeah, I want to build a business, but I want to build a business that makes enough money for me to have financial freedom, but also keeps me engaged. Like, my impact on the world is really what matters. Having other people do it, I don't know right now, will give me what I'm necessarily looking for. It might, I don't know.
So based on that, how many clients do you think you realistically need to hit that goal?
I have a goal. So I don't know the answer to that. My goal right now is to have 10 by April 1st.
Okay. So you got 4 right now.
So I got 4. So I'm almost there. I think I can handle probably up to 20 comfortably without compromising the quality of my personal life. And because
it's got to balance, right?
Yeah, I got to have balance, but also I want to love coaching. I want to continue to love coaching and helping people. If that gets out of whack, if I'm spending all my time coaching and I'm helping people work through their own problems, that might become a drain on myself. I don't want to get to that. So I think, because when you think about having 20 clients, you're talking about 20-hour sessions a week. That's a lot. That's a lot. But those are some of the things you got to do when you get started too, right? You've got to
grind.
You got hustle.
A little bit of hustle to get to
gotta
that
hustle.
sweet spot.
Yeah.
Plus, you won't know necessarily what you can handle until you'll push the boundary a little bit and say, maybe that's a little too much for me.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, coming from education as an administrator, like, there's nothing. You can't work me harder than that job did. You just can't.
It's true.
You know,
there you go.
That was an incredible journey, and I loved it. But that was a grind. Like, that's a 60-hour work week, easy, just at work, and then at home.
And the fact that you're working for yourself, like, every little bit counts. Whereas, like, when you're at your work for someone else, it's like, what's the point?
Yes.
It's to a certain extent.
Yes. And I'll tell you, for someone who's interested in impact, when you're in a system, or if you've had jobs before where you were working for someone else, you almost have no impact a lot of times. And that was a really hard thing to do. And that sucks a lot of energy out of you. You don't realize, like you said, you go to work every day and you don't realize this job sucks. Like, like the paycheck is great. And so that's another thing, your subconscious, like, wow, you can't leave this job. You're making great money. Look at all the things you're able to do. Well, it's awful. I hate it. You know,
if I hate the majority of time I'm doing it to make that paycheck, it's not worth it.
I think the important thing as far as, like, having a full-time job is using it as a tool to get to the self-empowerment with your own side hustle. At the same time. Because, like you said, you went through the experience of being an administrator, and there was a lot of good things that you could pull from that. And at the end of the day, I think being your own CEO is the ultimate goal. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, it's funny because, growing up in America, freedom is the thing that we all glamorize and stuff, but not many people realize that it's not just something that we all get a level of freedom. But going down this journey is really unlocking that full potential.
And we all get different levels of freedom.
Exactly.
Not everybody gets the same, you know, and
we're not taught this stuff that we're talking about right now in, like, the public education sphere.
But because they don't know.
Yeah.
They don't
And the
know.
people at the top may not, this is me being kind of cynical, but maybe the people at the top don't want us to know because they want to maintain at the top.
Well,
So there's like a withholding of information maybe.
uh,
But with the internet, it's like we have so much knowledge, so
Yeah.
much information out there, no secrets. You know?
Well, I think you're onto something because, you know, there's no secret that there is a demographic of our population that benefits the most from social injustice and all the things that we're talking, like the system being broken and education being the way it is. And yeah, it's, you know, what demographic that I'm talking about, you know, white, wealthy men have benefited for hundreds of years in this country, and they're not going to give it up. They're just not going to give it up. So yeah, that's been an interesting, I thought the Black Lives Matter movement has been fascinating. I've learned so much about myself and about white people, you know? Yeah, that's been really an eye-opening experience. And even the election too, you know, and really realizing who you surround yourself with and what it's no wonder that I made some of the decisions I made in my life when I see who I was surrounded by.
Yep.
You know, and until you can separate yourself from that, and recognize that this person is of value in some way or is not.
Right. Yeah.
So it's okay to let people go. I've had to let people go through all this. And it's hard. It's
but you
really
meet new
hard.
people.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
You meet new
Amazing people. And again, going back to being fearless, like I'm not afraid. I'm not, like, even reaching out to you guys, like I was like, oh, I don't know. They're going to think I'm nuts. And I'm like, what? If they say no, they don't know who I am. They don't care. I mean, they're doing their thing. They're doing their gig. I'm going to do mine. So you get fearless, you know, just like go for it. Nobody else is going to, you know, sell this business. No one else is going to do what I need to do. And the real partnership is figuring out how we help each other, right? How do we help each other? And I mean, that's the real gift of the business mindset right now, is that people are willing to help each other. And I think that is amazing. Like, yeah, I can do that for you. And this is what I need from you too, if you don't mind. I'm like, yeah, that sounds good to me.
And like you were talking about earlier, having the abundance mindset.
Yes.
Like approaching the, whether it's a business situation or going out and networking or going to an event, whenever you're meeting people with this abundance mindset, you're like, I'm providing value. Like, I know I'm enough.
Yes.
And now it's just like, I will prove it to you by doing this. And if you don't accept me into that experience, then it's like you're missing out.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's okay. Like, there are some people that are like, I'm not going to vibe with you. Like, we're not going to hit it off. And it's okay. Yeah. Because there are so many more people that will find my value and that will find your value if you know, if it's a person that I don't click with.
Yeah, value is an interesting thing because it's so free flowing.
It is, and it's intangible.
Yeah.
It's the real value is intangible. You know, you can do something for me. We could market something and it's, you know, it's tangible, but really the things that are of value, you can't put a price tag on. You know, it's about how you walk away or how you function in the relationship that defines the value, which is, what the hell is that? Yeah. You know?
And I think knowing what value you are able to provide helps you so much more in getting to the goals that you want to reach and everything. Because like you were saying about networking, that's like one of the first things I think about. In college, you hear about networking events and you just see the faces of people in the room. Like, I'm not going to go to that. Because they don't know what they're going to go talk to someone about. They don't have a value to provide yet. Or they might have a value, they just don't know what it is. So, yeah, I think that's key to moving to that next step.
And finding, there are people that are connectors by nature, right? They're the kind, so Michael Segro, you know Michael here in Syracuse? He's a connector, right? He knows everybody, and he's somebody who sees two people in the world and connects them together. Those are the kinds of people that you also need to seek out, because you can't do it all on your own. It's impossible. Human beings weren't meant to do things in isolation. We're a social species.
Right.
Same thing with learning. That's just how we learn. We learn from interacting with each other. So, yeah, I think determining someone's value is so unique too. Like your value to me is different because I just met you today. And as we get to know each other, that value is going to change. So it's a fascinating topic to think about, and very difficult for lots of people who were raised under a different business model. Like, it's hard to go from the old world of business to the new world. And there's some people doing amazing things. And then there's some people who just fell apart,
Yeah.
Well,
COVID either made you or broke you.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, talking about COVID. Your meetups with your clients, are you doing that all over like telephone? Webcam, whatever that may be?
It's their preference.
Okay.
So I have one client that I do see personally. Like I said, we walk outside. We try to be as safe as absolutely possible. When she's in my space, she's wearing, we wear a mask unless we're 6 feet apart. But when she's with me for an hour, we have to be masked so a lot of times we just choose to do it over the over Zoom unless we can be in outside.
Okay.
So I really want to stay healthy. I know my clients want to stay healthy. My family wants to stay healthy. So knock on wood, so far so good. So, and we're hoping that we'll have the vaccine by spring or summer, they're saying.
Yeah. I mean, it's floating around already with healthcare. Like, you're probably going to get it before us.
Next couple weeks.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. Weird. But I mean, it's awesome that being that you're starting something new with this happening in the beginning stages of it, and you're still able to push through and grow. That's awesome.
It's consistent. I'm consistent. I just do what I think is best for me. But I think COVID was one of those things that either made people or broke people. Like, there are people that are just, and some of my clients are the people that just kind of are waiting for it to end. And sometimes I just want to be like, no, this is the perfect opportunity to try something. I think that's what that inspired me too, because I just don't feel it created a fearlessness in me. Like, just go do it. Go try it. What's the worst that's going to happen?
It's very interesting. Like, with COVID, I think a lot of people I've observed just kind of accepted, like, okay, well, this is happening now. And they just kind of like sitting around waiting for things to go back to normal. Yeah. And first of all, things aren't going to go back to normal. So that's the reality check. A lot of them, I agree. Unfortunately, it will take a vaccine and things opening up for them to realize it's not the same, and never will be.
Yeah. Thank God, though. I'm really happy.
A lot of things that aren't going to be the same are good that they're not going to be the same. For sure.
Yeah. I think when you think about New York being on pause, remember when the governor came out and said, we're on pause? I think people took that literally. Like, I'm going to stop doing whatever it is I'm doing and wait for it all to end. But then there's another group of us who said, no, this is like the perfect opportunity. I literally filed my LLC on March 16th.
Wow.
March 16th. That means I got sent home on March 13th to work from home from SU on March 13th. It was Friday the 13th. And I worked on the LLC documents over the weekend, filed them over the weekend, and on Monday morning I had them. And I said to my partner, let's go. And I'm an idea guy. I'm an idea girl too. Like, I have tons of ideas. So I have other little things going on too. I've got this small customized bakery business going. Nice. I've got, my partner is building a consulting business for when she retires. And so that's kind of under our group. Like, we have one group that has these little ideas growing, but the coaching is my baby. Like that's what I've been waiting to release to the world. I've been, nurturing it since COVID started. Actually before that, but really when COVID started, that's when I really dug in and said, okay. And I wanted to launch by January 1 of 2021. That was written down. I had it written down, but I actually launched early, so I was pretty happy about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I've been kind of dabbling around with it, playing with it for a while, and then I just
let's just do it.
Go.
Yeah.
Go. What are you waiting for? Go.
Yeah. I the way I've been visualizing the whole COVID era, I mean, it's only a year, but it feels like 10 years.
Yeah.
Is that it's kind of like I talked to Kyle a lot about it. It's like a skill building opportunity because you have so much extra time because you're not going to the concerts and the movies and traveling and doing all this extra stuff, that you can pick up skills that might be able to transfer to a business that you're running or a job that you have.
And you have instant access to it.
Exactly.
Immediate access to information.
And there's really no excuse not to try these things when you're sitting in front of your phone probably more often now because of COVID. Yeah. That, are you going to get bored of TikTok eventually and maybe read a book or, watch a video about stocks or whatever it is,
That takes discipline.
Yeah.
I could sit on my phone I could find things to look at and read and watch for hours, but I have to put it down and read. I like to read. I like to read books. So I like to have a book. I've got 4 books going right now. And usually the decision is, okay, which one am I going to pick up now? My daughter gave me Humans. Do you know Humans of New York? Have you ever heard of Humans?
Yeah.
The website. Well, they compiled a book. It's just called Humans. And it's this beautiful book of pictures from all over the world and people's stories, just in a paragraph under each picture. It is the most beautiful book. And I've been picking that up and just reading one, but because I just love to hear people's stories. Yeah. It's interesting.
That's definitely my biggest motivation with being a part of the podcast is that's what I look to get out of. Yeah. It's just a new interaction, a new perspective to take away. So I can go back out into my life and kind of take themes and things that I heard. And it's super helpful. I think more people should have just...
No interaction is incidental either. I think we're connected in so many levels and we may not understand our connection right now, but someday it may come to our full consciousness, our full understanding, oh, that's his place in my life. That's her place in my life. Right. You just don't know, which is why meeting people is so fascinating because you just don't know what they're going to bring to you and what you have to offer, because it goes both ways, right? It's never one-sided. So,
yeah. And I used to be afraid of talking with someone I've never met before without having a very purposeful reason for talking to them. And so this has been just a giant exercise for me, at least, to just open up to being able to speak to someone I have never met before. Yeah. And by the end, I feel like I know that person. Yeah. And I can walk away feeling like, I can do this.
Yeah. See, and now I had an advantage because I could go on social media and really get a feel for you guys, which was really helpful. I knew your names. I knew what you looked like already. So I knew that when I saw Kyle, I was going to know who Kyle was as opposed to Andy. I was not going to get you mixed up. Because I had seen enough of you to know, okay, that's Kyle. Kyle's one that's always on the skateboard. And doing the ninja stuff, right? So, and really just taking the time to read your stories and listen to your, or watch your, listen to your music and watch the videos that are posted. That was really interesting to me. It was, what really hooked me was, I think you were at the Jamesville Quarry and you were talking about change, like social injustice.
Yeah, we went to, what was that?
It was in September, I think.
What's the park called?
Oh, there was a picture of it.
I don't remember.
Clark's Reservation.
Clark's Reservation. Okay. That's what it was. Yeah.
We did. Yeah. I wish we should do more of those because Kyle did one about
open-mindedness.
And then I did one about how to create change. Yeah. Yeah, we just walked around the woods and that was our intention to be there that day too. Like it wasn't like random.
It wasn't planned, or
It was
Like,
planned.
It was
planned.
planned.
It was
It was
planned.
planned.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did that on purpose, and we definitely need to do more of those. But
yeah, it was interesting, but it it gave me a lot of insight
Mhm.
as to. So let me give you an example of overcoming fear. So for me, like your vibe and your community is like not the demographic I'm used to dealing with. So I'm pushing back this all day long, right? This what are you doing, Michelle? That subconscious going, you're going to hang out with a bunch of guys that are like your former students, and you all the tapes that go on inside your head. And so this afternoon before I came, I'm like, I'm going to spend a few minutes in meditation, just get my head in the right place, just chill, just relax. And then my partner said to me, Michelle, they just want to know about you. They just want to
Yeah.
know about you. And I was like, oh yeah, I talk to people all the time. It's actually kind of annoying, she'll say, oh, do you have to talk to that person? I'm like, oh, you never know the story they're going to tell you. And I'm one of those people who, when we walk, because I walk everywhere, I literally put 5,000 miles on my car from last December to
Holy
this
crap.
December. 5,000. I walk everywhere I can.
You said you live close, like
I live in
around
Franklin
here.
Square. Like I walk everywhere.
Walking in Syracuse is great.
And it's safe. Everybody's like, oh, you live in the city? Yeah. I walk from Dinosaur Barbecue before COVID back and forth. And there's panhandlers there. There's homeless people. They don't bother me. I'll tell you why. One of the things I've done since I got here, because I love the city, I really do. People think I'm nuts because I say I love Syracuse. I really do. There's a lot here, the untapped potential.
Yeah.
But I set in my sights every time I pass somebody when I'm walking. I look them in the eye and I say hello. I don't care what color you are, how you're dressed, how you smell. If you ask me for money, I have done that. And my partner will say to me, I cannot believe how people respond to you, because honestly, it has changed people. Like just recently, I shouldn't say this, but my partner's mother gave us some Christmas cookies. Well, I don't need 3 dozen Christmas cookies. I'm like, put those things in a bag. We're going down to the corner of Franklin and, what is that street? Harrow Place.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And because there's always someone there.
Mm-hmm.
You put those cookies in a bag. We're going down there. We're going to give these Christmas cookies to the guys on the corner, whoever's down there. And we do that all the time. In the summertime, I put a bottle of water in my back pocket. And I don't have to worry about anybody in the city because I say hello to everybody, look them in the eye, ask them how their day's going. And a lot of times I hand them a bottle of water or some cookies on them. Except for the guy who was changing his clothes down by Soundgarden. And he didn't like it that I saw him in his underwear. And I'm like, wait, come on, guy. You can't get dressed and out.
Right.
I'm not having me walk by. But yeah.
Hey, well, maybe someone listening to this will take that perspective and take it in their life, and maybe they won't think the same way about Syracuse.
Oh yeah, I hope so. It's a great city. We love it, and there's a lot of people who care about the city here, and who are doing some really amazing things. Mm-hmm. The creativity in this city is unbelievable. I'm a creativity junkie. I thrive on it. And I appreciate it in other people. And I think there's so much going on in this city that people outside of the city aren't aware of. People in the city know. The people that are here, we know what's going on. Mm-hmm. But the people outside of Syracuse don't know. They don't know. Yeah,
like that was one reason why I moved here specifically, is because we're living with all artists who live here, so, and granted, I already was tapped into the community, but to kind of just live amongst them a little bit more, to kind of get to know, more connections. It's been really awesome. Yeah. And that's been a theme on our show too. You can listen to plenty of our episodes where we talk specifically about the potential of Syracuse and where things are going to go in the next 5 to 10 years. Cause I really think we're on and up that people just don't realize it's happening.
I think so too. There's a lot of people in little groups and little pods that seem to be interconnecting, starting to connect. Mm-hmm. And I think people that care about this city are also ready to give to the city, like do things to help not just themselves and their businesses, but in the culture of the city and the community itself, and helping people that can't always help themselves in the best ways. I think that's the spirit of the city, and I love being a part of it. Absolutely love it. And it's so open, you know, coming from the suburbs and being in a same-sex relationship. It's different being in a city. People don't care. They don't care.
No. Yeah.
They don't think, there's not, I've never, since I've been here, had anyone make any kind of comment toward me or my partner when we're in public. Never. Once at Turning Stone Casino. But that's it. Like, not here, walking around the city. And we're clearly partners. I mean, I don't hide it. I don't care. Like, if you got a problem,
you shouldn't.
No, you know, but you don't see a lot of it. You don't see a lot of gay couples or same gendered couples being public in the city. You don't. It's always bothered me. Like, why? Where? I know you're there. I know we're all out there, but where are you? You know. So.
Yeah. And I mean, I definitely think a lot of that is just you know, fear mindset. Maybe something happened, or they've witnessed something happen to a friend of theirs. So I understand that, but I think it's very empowering to just say, screw all that.
Yeah. Just be a person, you know, and I think if you let other people be who they are without judgment, I think the world is more accepting of you.
Yeah. Especially if you're as confident as you are walking around and just being yourself. If anything, them saying anything is more of just an insecurity on their behalf. Yeah. So it's like, maybe you need to check yourself.
Yeah. And that's been a big part of a transformation too, is like not really caring what people think. We all do, right? We all have some degree of that, but we also can learn a greater ability to check that. Like, do I really care what that person who just yelled a homophobic slurs? Do I really care what that? No.
Yeah,
like,
like
don't
you
give
might
power
not
to those
ever
people.
see that person again.
And like you said, like it's about them. Like, that comment isn't about me. That's about you. You know, that's not so. Really not caring about people as much. You know, making your own decisions based on your own self, not on what other people think or say. Which is a part of creativity and growing your own business too. You cannot be afraid what people are going to think and say about your business. Just go do it.
Yeah. And that's when you were talking about, we talk about like the loneliness factor. To a degree, initially it's lonely because you have to teach yourself to not care what people think, because there's constant judgment around you. But once you are confident in that feeling of not caring, it doesn't necessarily have to be lonely. You can still be with other people. They just may not necessarily get what you're doing.
Yep. And I like the way you framed it. It is a skill, and you can learn it, and you can practice it, and you do get better at it. But I do think it's uniquely human. You know, we do you probably always care what your parents think to some degree, and the people around you that you love.
It's knowing when to care though, and when to turn it off,
and how to do with it, right? And what to do with it. You know, thank you for your concern, but I'm doing it anyway.
Yeah. Love that.
So we're almost at 2 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We went by fast.
So, based on everything we talked about, we just talked about a lot. This has been awesome. Is there anything that we didn't hit on that you wanted to hit on while we're still in this conversation?
My gosh. I think we talked about a lot. I feel like I can't believe it's been 2 hours. It's been pretty.
It's always like a portal.
Fun.
I feel like I'm in a portal whenever I do these.
Portal. I thought you said a porno.
No, porno. I feel like I'm porno. No, portal.
Does anybody even use that term anymore? Porno. I think that's a 70s term. Sorry, I got distracted. 2 hours is a long time to focus.
The subconscious mind taking over.
Have words changed in the last 2 hours?
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Oh God.
Time travel.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
No, I think you've been very gracious in letting me talk a little bit about my business, my aspiring coaching business, and about myself, and giving your listeners an opportunity to get to know me a little bit. And I hope someday that we come full circle and we see each other again and we do some more work together. And this has been awesome. I love your message. I love your vibe. I have to admit, I do like watching the ninja videos. I wish I could do some of those. I was like, how the hell does he do that? But you make it look easy. But no, I think you guys did a great job. I felt really comfortable and it was fun.
Well, why don't you share where people can find what you're doing outside of what you've already said?
Yeah, the best way to reach me is probably Googling Always Chasing Better Coaching. And that'll take you right to my website. It'll give you an idea of what coaching looks like. I also have a Facebook page. Always Chasing Better Coaching is my Facebook page. I have a private group that is set up too that's just exclusively for women. It's a community for women to support other women who are managing change. So you can find me on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I have not ventured into TikTok. It's probably something that should be on my radar, but
we haven't either.
I got enough on my plate with Instagram and Facebook and staying true to my business and really making an impact and still having, being involved in the things I do other than building a business. So yeah, you can find me there.
Awesome. And we'll share all that stuff in the description.
Okay,
as well,
great.
So people can go directly to that. Awesome. So we always finish our podcast with one question. I'll let Kyle ask it since I've been doing this whole outro.
So the question is, what does it mean to be human? We're all connected in some way, shape, or form by us being human. So what is that thing that holds true for all of us? Or what does it hold true to you?
I think being human, being uniquely human, is having a free will and being able to make your own choices and your own decisions and create your own path and collect relationships along the way and give and take to people that make your life better. So I think that being able to make decisions for yourself and take care of yourself first so that the people around you can benefit from the best person that you are. Yeah, I would say that.
Thank you for your wisdom.
That was, couldn't have said it better myself.
Oh, thanks.
Awesome. Well, that's all we got.
That's
a wrap.
That is a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Thank you so much for reaching out. I'm really glad that you did.
It's been great.
And we're excited to share this with everyone else.
I loved it.
Awesome.
I loved
3,
it.
2, 1.
So there you have it. Thanks again for tuning in to Bindlism, a philosophy to self-sufficient lifestyle. Be sure to explore other episodes of Bindlism on our Spotify and Apple podcast. You can find more BOHO HOBO stuff on Instagram and Twitter at BOHO_HOBO_, as well as on our Facebook page at BOHO HOBO Lifestyle. It'd also be dope if you could subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Our YouTube channel has more episodes from Bindlism in video form, along with other random shenanigans that we're up to. We're constantly filming new experiences, so it's one way you guys can stay up to date with us in our journey. So yeah, I guess that's it for now. Until next time, peace.